Okay, then the motivation was quite easy to say, now I can put my data into that. So, and along that idea, they developed Sea Green, which is a platform which is, again, blockchain based, which encourages suppliers to really put in their data on their carbon footprint, certified data with certifiers. We're working with certifiers too. And meanwhile, there's a bunch of companies who decided, for example, the chemical industry in Europe, they decided to use that tool now in order to create transparency. Automotive does it as well for Catena X, and we talk about that. And the beauty is that today on the panel, you see the supply chain. You see, I mean, Thyssen supplying to Eurogroup, then if you would have ZF, we would have another partner in the value chain supplying then to a car manufacturer, and they all use Sea Green. So you really see how Sea Green is deployed in one of the value chains of supplying automotive customers.
So I guess, Leonardo, that means for you, because you're the one using Sea Green with Miguel.
Yeah, when Mr. Gunther Bettinger explained us what is Sea Green, I start to speak with our customer. You know, we have 90% of the EV platform in America, 50% in Europe, and we are starting now to lead the Asian market. And we start to speak about this a few months ago with ZF, our customer, and the answer is why not? And we start with a pilot project that we are managing now in Mexico for American market, and we request to involve Thyssen, thank you very much, to accept this involvement, and we have a product that is working. We are presenting this project all the customers, and all of them, they are asking to implement immediately as soon as possible. And yeah, I have to thank you very much to Siemens for this kind of pilot project and all the activities that are making inside our company, because it's something new that that is on the market, having the ability to make measurement of the job that every day all the companies are making. This is very important because in a situation where the competitiveness is very strong, the differentiation is very important, and this, as we know, is you cannot improve, you cannot measure. And this is the way that in a granular way, we make a measurement of each component, and all the improvements is on the hand of the final customer. We can give this information to the final customer and evaluate which one have to buy. And this is something very important. And Siemens give us this strong opportunity. Thank you very much.
So Miguel, what enticed you to then use Sea Green, or what is the advantage for you?
Well, I believe we need to add an additional component to the conversation, because when talking about fair competition, of course, Sea Green is one element, but specifically in the steel production, cost of energy is extremely important. And when looking to the imports into the EU, and that's what we are currently talking to the regulators, then the cost of energy of other countries, for example, China or India, is much lower than what we have in Europe. So it does mean it is not enough to have the coil somehow Z-greened. It is also necessary that we have a certain kind of certification for the company as a whole, so the steel company as a whole from whatever country it is. Why? Because you can do one green coil, but you can have 80% of other production which is gray. So this element of fair competition is extremely important, and I was thinking the other day when talking to the regulators, probably we need an institution like ISSB or something similar to have not only the stamp on the coil as such, but also the stamp on the company overall, because what we are interested in is to get complete green supply chain, as you mentioned before. So this is another element that is extremely important from my point of view. Of course, we are now taking our Blue Mint steel product, thanks to Sea Green, to customers, and this is giving us a competitive advantage. Nevertheless, we need to solve also the more trading challenges as such as well. And this arena here, of course, is perfect. COP is perfect in order to address that and to talk with Al Jaber, with Dr. Sultan about this kind of things and address it correctly.
And let me add, this is completely right. You have to look at the full dimension. Number one, the company, how you position yourself, what's your footprint, what is your commitment on the one side. On the other side, and this is where Sea Green helps, but it helps also on the other end. At the end of the day, you can really assign a carbon footprint to this bottle of water. How many kilograms do you have? And you can even offset it in this platform. So these are the two important dimensions. Both of them are relevant for obvious reasons.
One additional thing is energy efficiency. We are talking only or too much about the usage of energy, but we are not talking as much about energy efficiency. And energy efficiency is one fundamental piece to reduce carbon footprint as such.
This is really great. So, Miguel, your point about standards on green steel, what exactly it is and how to make it comparable globally is really a call to action to all the public parties that are there. And it shows the importance of public-private partnership. And I think at ThyssenKrupp, this is really essential as well for the transformation of your industry. Would you like to talk about the core pain points and how the public can help you with that?
Well, I think we first need to acknowledge that the German government is doing a great job because they have been embarking on the journey of decarbonization, and they were helping us, as you know, with the first direct reduction plant, by the way, also in very strong cooperation with Europe, with the European Union. So this 3 billion investment, where we are getting 2 billion as a price risk mitigation mechanism, is leading that we are from 2028 using 1/3 until 2038, 1/3 of blue hydrogen and 2/3 of green hydrogen. So the goal of this is to establish also a hydrogen value chain and infrastructure in Germany as such, because we will have a demand of 140,000 tons of hydrogen every year with only one direct reduction plant. So this is how the public private collaboration works in detail. Unfortunately, a couple of fellow steelmakers have not been getting this support because of the decision of the court in Germany the other day. But we will support them also that they are getting their fair share, because it needs to be always fair. With this, we can really then match the demand of customers, whether OEMs or suppliers to OEMs, primarily in the automotive industry.
And we're sitting here together because you three formed a partnership to get real data on a CO2 footprint of a product for the customer. So Miguel just talked about the importance of public-private partnerships, but the potential for the industry is very much in building partnerships and ecosystems to tackle the challenges that this planet and society is facing. Roland, would you like to talk a little bit about the importance of partnerships, ecosystems, and the digitalization behind it as well?
Yeah, and let me start with the Sea Green, which is you can see already how important this partnership of an ecosystem is, because the more suppliers, the more partners are adding their data to this platform, the more relevant it gets, obviously. And so therefore, this is what we call technology-based platforms which multiply once you have more and more users. So and I just can reiterate what you said. This is a multidimensional problem which we have to solve. Basically, what we are doing now is when we make our shift in our energy system or any other system, it requires a tremendous amount of capex at the beginning because we want to save on OPEX, on spending gas or anything. Of course, it has to be driven by efficiency because whatever kilowatt hour you don't consume at the end, you don't need to feed in maybe 3 at the beginning. But at the same time, we need to invest in renewables, we need to invest in grids, we need to invest in charging spots, we need to invest in storage because renewables are per definition intermittent, so we are coming back to the hydrogen, not only for steel but also for storage. So you think about it, this is a massive transformation into a new world which requires a lot of private investment, and to back this investment by governments in order to drive, number one, innovation. And I fully agree that you start working not only on green hydrogen but also on blue one, because you really need to drive a lot of innovation and putting this innovation in sequence. So waiting until you have enough green electrons for green hydrogen is maybe not the right point. Of course, we have to go green. So this is a concerted effort of not only the government in order to play their role, and one of the big roles I see in government is also providing the infrastructure. That's particularly their role, but also of companies coming together along the supply chain for certain industries that make sense to really link them and to make a concerted move. We see at the start. I'm very optimistic. If you look at my discussions here, COP28, it's more really about execution of doing things rather than debating whether or not you have to. So this is very positive. Still a work to do, I guess.
I would like to propose you something. We have now starting with the cooperation in steel, but there's another sector which is extremely important to be decarbonized, and this is cement. Cement accounts for 8 to 10% of all the CO2 emissions in the world. So what we have been doing now here for steel, we should think about also to do it as a partnership with the cement industry. Later today we will sign it's a surprise, I will not say anything, but the need for decarbonizing cement is huge, and until 2030 they need to be decarbonized, carbon capture. We have a technology to do that, and they need to be decarbonized because otherwise plants will get not any longer competitive. And there are 2,300 cement plants worldwide. We have installed 800 of them. So there is a lot of potential to further work on the partnerships, and it is needed to get really the things done.
And Leonardo, we know it all starts and ends with the customer. So in Eurogroup, you're doing so much to anticipate the needs of your customer.
Yes, well, I think that the great opportunity that we have having Sea Green as a tool to make a measurement where we are, make us data, numbers to understand what we can do, what we have to do in our shoulder and in the shoulder of our suppliers. In the pilot project that we have with ZF, we show the data. Now it's very clear where it comes from, the CO2 emission. We know that every stack that we sell is 8.5 kilos of CO2 emission. Well, 85% is coming from your steel that have to know to work on it, and TSN have a strong plan to reduce the CO2 emission. And we have a part that is in our shoulder, as we said. And we have a plan that starting now, with a plan 2035, we will reduce in a plant in America, in Mexico, to over 35% of the emission, and to reach neutrality with our stages. Stage one is to go to zero in our project, go to zero CO2 emission 2050. It's important to know where we are, to work on it, and to make a plan. uh, speak about the way to use steel. We take care of the steel because the great steel that the customer chose with us, with an activity related with the co-development of the processes, we found a way to do not lose the good steel that we receive. This is important. It's a part of our job because we discover that our task, our job to make a core rotor and stator, if you don't take care, you can damage the material and lose a lot of effort made by the supplier and by the customer. After they have to pay, no, to lose performance. No? And we are there constantly working in order to increase the efficiency, no, preserving the good characteristic of the material. This is very important, and all of this is measured by a C-green that every pieces can control with all the system that we have. We have a backbone, Siemens backbone of informatic technology, where collect in a granular way all the activity related with the operation in order to understand exactly where we are. This is the way that we are working.
And let me put one more party in this equation, which is the consumer itself. We see more and more consumers, end consumers are more aware of there's more awareness on what's the footprint. We talked about, maybe that's a nice leeway to talk about our booth. If you can pass by, you'll see there are two use cases, which I find brilliant. One is we're exposed to, in combination with BMW, a car with a battery passport. So that means the customer who buys a car can really look into this battery passport and see what is the content, what is the footprint, what is the percentage of recycled material used in this very same battery, along with very other interesting information, which is what is the capacity, what is the still maximum capacity compared to the specification and so on. The other extreme is you can get a coffee and you know what, if you order a latte macchiato, you get to know what is the footprint of your latte macchiato. So still enjoy it, but you know, this is, you have to get the consumers also informed. Once you are informed about the footprint, then you can make choices. So this is really the big difference what we can make if you bring this technology all the way together from the supply chain, maybe even from the mine. I'm pretty sure when we talk about, there should be another person sitting next to me from the mine, which is filling the data into your C-green database and so on and so on. So therefore, that's the whole idea behind it, and get to move a lot of legs at the same time.
I love it because it also shows very much that our customers require us to think bigger. I mean, as much as climate is part of planetary boundaries, decarbonization is part of resource efficiency and biodiversity, and at the end, circularity. So if we now think a little bit bigger, what does our customer really need? It's really about the end, the pain point and the outcome that industry is now working to deliver. It's reinventing ourselves, thinking new about innovation and technology and how we can address the customer need. Miguel, how do you look at that?
Well, I mean, it's very much also about transparency, communication, and education. You know, I see that now since we created the decarbon technologies segment in ThyssenKrupp. We did that October 1st. We are doing really information communication campaigns to get not only customers, consumers, but also our own people aware of the first of the need for doing decarbonization. Second, that this is a purpose beyond business, and that's what it should be. Sustainability is a purpose. It needs to be business, but it is more. And to get also the actions more defined in terms of how many electrolyzers we want to make, we will offer, how many ammonia plants, how many green chemicals can we do, how many plants, cement plants we can decarbonize, and how many windmills we can drive with our bearings. So all this, in terms of getting the message better across, is extremely important. And one thing for sea green applications, I don't know how to do it, but I think energy as such is a very important factor, because it's, you know, you said the mine, and the mine is one source, primary source, but the energy is the other primary source, and how to get this transparent. You know, because if we talk about steel, you know, we can have a direct reduction plant, but we can have also HBI. And if it's HBI, we are getting a product from a third party, which is already some steel produced. And this needs also to be then, this part of the value chain needs also to be controlled. And there, it's important what the energy is, green, blue, gray, whatever. So transparency, communication, education, clear action plans.
Well, as I said, starting 2015, our job changed dramatically. And this is because we understood that the market, the request of the market was different. Not only making lamination, buying the steel, but working with the customer, helping the customer to make the right choice, and developing with them how to use better the steel. And starting this moment, we started to make a deep activity, starting our plants, where the people go to, we send them to go to school, starting the operator to the middle management to high level the people, in order to be able to understand better and better the technology and to be able to make innovation. We are making strong, important innovation in our field. One of these is, for example, to separate the production of rotor and the stator, because rotor and stator are two elements that are part of the electrical motors. And in the past, until now, when we ask the steel mill, steel is to make both. Because the process need to use, you have to optimize the usage of the steel. And for these reasons, we ask one steel to make rotor and stator. Now, because we are able to make, thanks to the innovation, the possibility of this a new way to make rotor and stator, we can ask to the steel mill separated material, one for the rotor, one for the stator. This open a new is a new way to understand the motors, increasing efficiency, having better usage of the material, and this overall is increasing, taking care of the sustainability. Not only because we are deeply involving suppliers like Thyssen and with university and laboratory to make better the job that we know what have to do, what have to be, and speaking with the supplier and with the customer to make the real bridge. This is a big step change, and we discover that we are obtaining huge acceptance of the market because they know the value of what we are doing, and the way to make a measurement of this is sea green. Thank you.
And Roland, how does Siemens anticipate the customer's desired outcome in sustainability through innovation?
I mean, first and foremost, talking to them, but also, I mean, there are two dimensions. Obviously, there's a regulation kicking in, which is driving it, and the other side is customers. And we have a lot of leading customers who say, we go our own way. We want to make our contribution, and we go very, very aggressive for carbon neutrality as fast as possible. So, therefore, I mean, it's a constant dialogue. And I mean, the big elephant in the room is obviously, does it cost more? I mean, if I ask you for green steel today, there might be an extra price. Question is our customers paying for it? Is our customer's customer paying for it? Is the end customer paying for it? And this brings me back to the point, maybe a end customer pays for it, but not if it's not transparent. if you don't have a choice, this is the footprint of a product A, this is a footprint of a product B, and then you have a choice. I saw yesterday in our booth an analysis of our suppliers supplying the same part, and it varies by a factor of 11, I guess, on the carbon footprint. So once you have a choice, then you can go for it. The pressure is there. I mean, we see that when maybe 5 years back, people were talking about what are the targets. Now it's not about talking about, it's really about executing. How can I get as fast as possible? There's one dimension I would like to bring into this whole discussion. One is efficiency. I fully agree. I mean, drive it as fast, as hard as you can, because this is the ultimate target to get also your ultimate demand down. The second one is definitely trying to eliminate every kind of carbon footprint along the value chain. But the third element, and you talked about it, is recycling. I do know that if you can recycle aluminum, for example, that reduces your energy input by maybe whatever, 70–80%, and same for steel. Problem is that if you recycle high-value steel, you downgrade it to construction steel. But real recycling means go for high-value steel and recycle it to high-value steel so you can reuse it in the value chain. That's for me another challenge. And guess what's the answer? Technology. I do believe there's technology there which we need to develop even further and to deploy. And the other question is, who are the players in that market? Who has the business model to collect the stuff from the field, bring it back, recycle it? In particular, if it's not steel, it maybe goes back to you guys because you have the smelters. But if you have particular materials which occur in very, very limited amounts, I mean, talk about batteries, lithium, cobalt, nickel, whatever, who does it, and how can we do that as effective and efficient as possible? So, by when can we recycle high-value steel to high-value steel?
That's a fantastic question, and we are working with many institutes, as you know, in order to get the innovations for our customers, of course, done, the efficiency up. The good news, you mentioned it already, is that we already recycle today, but downgraded to lower qualities for sure. I would like to take your competitiveness point again in order to address the need for fair competition. Again, this is a very, very big issue for us, for European steelmakers, because we are suffering from a lot of imports that are not having the same preconditions as we do. And this is something that where public-private partnership kicks in again, but also the value chain. You know, today green steel may get a premium, but I'm not really sure whether in 5 years from now or 8 years from now the consumer will really pay for the different. I mean, I don't think so. I think this will be very fast. You will get under pressure from OEMs, and the OEMs they will not pay 200 euros more for a ton of steel. And if we take a current, a battery car, an EV, we know how many tons the car is, and most of the tons is steel or aluminium. Aluminium applies the same. So competitiveness needs to be there for sure, but we need to figure out how we get this done in a fair way. That's very important because we have responsibility for our people. We have responsibility for the wealth in Europe as well, of course also in other countries, but this is a very European topic because of what I mentioned before, the very high energy prices that we have here compared to other regions in the world. So competitiveness, very clear. In 10 years from now, nobody will get you more paid for anything green, but we need to do it in a fair way. And that's our task to do that.
Well, I agree with you, but it's clear that we don't have the answer now. But we we can have answer working together, because we have a request of the customers that said, sit together and work together to understand what we can do. And speaking about like the necessity to recycle, to take care of the life of the product, starting 2 years ago in Mexico, the state of Querétaro requested to us to be lead a group of company, Italian company in Querétaro. I'm Italian consul in Mexico, and they asked us to lead the Italian companies to work in a program that is take care of the life of the material to put in production, in the market. And Querétaro, that we will meet tomorrow, with the governor will be in your stand. And Querétaro start 2 years ago to put a tax. I cannot tell them this tax because it's a contribution for the projects, no? But it's true. They use this money. We pay $30 each ton of CO2 emission, and they take this this contribution to put in place a project to reduce the CO2 emission. This is a very great project. I asked Mr. Gunther Bettinger to be involved in this project, because what I'd like to do as a CEO of the company, to use this contribution in order to obtain a certification, now to set off the CO2 emission. Means that it's a great job. It's the way that I think I have to work on it. I think that if you stay together, we will find a way to be competitive with innovation. This
is a great example where everything is coming together. I mean, and the government says, I mean, the companies producing here, they have to meet their targets. If not, they have to pay $30 per ton of CO2. But this money goes directly into a forestation community, indigenous people who are foresting, so they are capturing carbon. And again, making this whole thing transparent, so it moves. It needs a platform, which is the green again. They can really see it's the demand and the offset. So and you bring it together with a certain price. What I believe it's a very smart idea to drive the whole system, and it will drive efficiency and effectiveness. So I mean, this is your point. In 10 years from now, you don't get too much of an extra price. We have to go, and you started the whole panel here was saying it's not only about going sustainable and resilient, but it's also about being competitive, cost competitive as well. There are opportunities, and there are very good examples how we can get there.
And it also shows that you're thinking about the communities you basically work with and in and live in, which is a very important part of sustainability as well. Now, I want to touch on something that Miguel mentioned earlier. So when we look at the speed of the transition that is required, so when we fully think through that we have to cut 40% of CO2 in the next 6 years, we are looking at the biggest deployment of capital since World War II. Now, you're all sitting here as European companies with long and strong traditions and cultures. But this is not going to be linear. It's like we have a 6-year window and we have an S-curve. So how do you manage to take all of your employees along on this ride that is really coming at us with full speed?
So first of all, speed, just one data point. To fulfill the plans, the worldwide plans, we would need 1,000 gigawatt renewable energy installed every year. Last year, we installed 300. So we are way too late, way too late. And of course, the other thing is, all the, interest rates development was killing a lot of renewable projects. So, I mean, we are working on many things with partnerships within the company, but the overall picture, I mean, it will be discussed here, is not good. We need to find the ways to get the things done much faster. Looking to ThyssenKrupp, I mean, I was saying the other day, we are the climate activist #1 in Germany, because we are decarbonizing the steel, which is we have been talking about this before. It's a very large, we are 2.5% of all the CO2 emissions in Germany. 2.5%. So we are working very hard on this and to get the things done in the next 10 to 15 years. The other thing is, and I mentioned this as well, so this decarbon technologies is of course giving a lot of visibility about the importance, I mentioned it before, for our people, and of course the ESG program that we are driving. But the good thing in our case is that we have this green transformation, two big things on the agenda, and people, I think, are very proud that we are driving this so intensely.
Well, I mean, taking the people with us, we talk about 320,000 people at Siemens. I think it's a combination. Number one, I do believe all of them got the message that we have to do something in order to save our planet or help human further develop in an environment which we should not damage too much. So this is number one. Number two is they do know that we have the technology which is helping our customers and our customers' customers to make a change. So there's an intrinsic motivation. The third element, of course, is creating success, which obviously makes it easier to buy into. So it's not about running a company and then running it getting the financials down while making a sustainability agenda. No, it's both. I think this combination is very important, and you can do that. So therefore, I fully agree. It's getting tougher. I mean, when you talk about half-time stock taking, and we say we saved already 60%, 40 to go, we would say it's great, now we are ahead. But the problem is that the low-hanging fruits are done. So now it's really getting really tough. Which brings me to the point that if you really want to take these 40% and tackle them while having higher interest rates, and everybody knows it's all about investment, it's CapEx, which we have to do. I mean, it's capital allocation. Bring the capital deployed at the point where it can make the biggest impact on euro investment in getting a ton of CO2 reduction. This is a global task. This is maybe the reason why COP is even more important than ever before. The global task is how can raise the capital and deploy it in the most effective way in order to bring it to the point where it saves the most. That's a task, and it requires a joint effort, a little bit boundaryless, I have to say.
Well, I think that we are living a situation, a very special moment in the world, in particular in our field, that is automotive, where Asian market, they lead capacity to be able to stay on the market. They are able to have a perfect product with a 35–40% less cost. And I think that it's important, this COP28 have to take consideration what they have to do, what is the decision of the governments to deal with a situation where can be disruptive on the market. For sure, staying in our market, our job, we have plants worldwide, and we have a customer worldwide. Where the customer asks, we are there to supply them. Of course, the situation where we are now, we have to increase a lot, as we are doing a lot of companies, our operation in China, because they are good, they are very able to make a good product with a competitive price. Probably not all time they stay on the limit linked with the CO2 emission, but is it a fact? No, and the COP28 have to give us answer in this situation, in my opinion.
And if we're coming a little bit towards the end of our time together, so let's make sure we're touching on the future. If you're looking, let's say, until 2030, what are your strategic priorities and what is your vision for 2030? Roland, do you want to start?
Well, I mean, number one is we have a commitment going for 2030 to go with scope 1 and 2 down to basically zero. That's we're investing another 600 million to do that. So this is a clear commitment. I think we get there. Number two is we're talking about scope 3 upstream. They have a long way to go. We said we want to reduce by minus 20%, go zero by 2050. This is particularly difficult because this growth speaks against it. The more you grow, the more material you buy, so you have to overcompensate for whatever growth you have. So that's heavy lifting, and that requires a lot of effort, deploying our technologies, using Sea Green, creating transparency, but also work with companies like Kirsten to see how can we buy green steel and the like for competitive prices. So this is another one. And to be very honest, my real focus is downstream. 90% of our portfolio is carbon, supporting the carbon reduction, or is green as you want. And to really think about how can we deploy our technology faster, because this has the single biggest impact on the market. So I talked about 500,000 tons, scope 1 and 2, some 15 million upstream. And we talk hundreds of millions of tons if you talk downstream. And this cuts across all our industries because we provide efficient drives, we provide software and technology which avoids failure in your design, avoids resources which you spoil because you do that. We have the most efficient trains. Green transport is public transport. So there's a lot of things we can do. So therefore, this is maybe the biggest challenge and opportunity you have to really bring this technology to the market.
I cannot agree more because, I mean, the internal program is clear, but our challenge is how to ramp up the capacities for producing electrolyzers for the customers. How do we ramp up the capacities? How do we standardize, modularize all the equipment for green chemicals? How do we ramp up this in order to support the decarbonization of our customers? How do we ramp up all what we need to do to decarbonize people, teams, specialists, knowledgeable groups of people to decarbonize the cement industry? How do we ramp up all this? So there's a big opportunity also for the people, for enhancing the real power of ThyssenKrupp in terms of decarbonizing. So the more challenge I see is how to ramp up all these elements that I just said, and how to manage that, of course, profitable and in a competitive manner.
Well, it's clear now, having a Sea Green as a product, we can measure our way to proceed during the years with a program that we call Go to Zero project. And 2030 will be reduction of CO2 emission, as we already stated for America, is to reach a reduction of 35% of CO2 with objective to go to zero 2050. Speak about scope 1. About scope 3 is depending of the customer request and the ability to have the raw material available with low CO2 emission. It's important the job that we are doing with the government like Querétaro, where the activity linked with the systematic approach, not only related with the customer supply, but take consideration the life of our product is a very important activity that we will work on it in order to be more and more effective in the direction to be sustainable.
So the motto of this COP is unite, act, and deliver. If you could wish for one thing as an outcome of this COP, what would it be? Roland, would you like to start?
Yeah, very simple, a global carbon price. Give you a little bit of an idea behind, and you said mega wish. I know it's hard, but the point is, I talked about, or you talked about that maybe there's a problem if you have a carbon reduction here and you have imports from other countries with lower prices because they don't fill the requirements. So I mean, all these carbon border adjustments, I mean, you can get rid of if you say, you have a global carbon price, that's about it. We need a price and a mechanism how it's increasing steadily by time, which allows finally, and then we don't need this, what I see in some countries, the micromanagement of governments, where they want to steer money into certain corners. That's all gone. Once you have a global carbon price and it's steadily increasing, I tell you the money will flow where the return is. So that would be my wish.
I take this one. But by the way, this is a big debate, as you know, the big debate, because there are so many interests in this world. But what I would like to see is a clear plan how we ramp up the renewable capacity installation, because that's the basic thing in order to get the whole thing done. You know, renewable capacity, which country commits to what, and then to get the things really, to get the permits, to get whatever is needed in terms of acceptance of the public. Yeah? We are not having the right level of installations of renewable capacity because population is not always allowing it. So I would like to wish how we configure a plan for ramping up much faster the renewable installation capacity.
Well, I'd like to close this, speak about ourselves, what we can do more and more. And I'm expert about innovation, and I think that working deeply in this field with the base of our know-how and with training, with the school, I think that starting our job that we make every day with our team, with our people, I think that we can make a strong improvement in our environment.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to everyone who has joined us today at this panel at the ICC live from COP. You have heard 3 visionary CEOs who unite, act, and deliver. Is it enough? It's not enough yet. But it also needs to work together with government and NGOs. This is why they're here at COP, investing the time, supporting the cause, supporting governments and NGOs, and looking forward to solving this channel together. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.